human communication, we will talk about language diversity. Language diversity, in a very simple words, we mean to say that there are so many different varieties of language being used, like in different states and different areas. We use different languages, but even within same state, same language will have many varieties. Okay. That varieties may be different in terms of region. That variety may be different in terms of uh, caste. That variety may be different in terms of education level. Some people are educated, some are uneducated, so they speak the same language differently. And that variety can also be in terms of, let's say, religion or class. Okay. So, considering these aspects, we will enter into the idea of language diversity. So, we begin with the basic definition of what is language. So, there is this cartoon here where a young girl is asking a parrot that, "Do you talk?" And the parrot replied, "Yes, but I don't understand what I am saying." This is again related with what we have discussed in the previous class in uh, the difference between the human and animal communication. The parrots, we can teach them how to speak, what to speak, but they can actually imitate human communication. They cannot speak like us because they cannot understand, or their mind cannot develop their own meaning the way humans can develop. Okay. These birds and animals, they have their own communicative system which is based on the certain signs which are associated with certain meanings. So there are signals. But the kind of language that we use, where same word can have different meanings in different situations. So here, language is a code through which we humans communicate among ourselves, and we express ourselves. This is one thing that differentiates humans from all the other living creatures on the earth. Okay. There are so many other species living here, but we are different from all of them because we use the language. And by using the language, we express things which are not easily expressible for the other species. So the other living creatures do communicate. They have their own communicative system. They communicate among themselves, but their language is not as advanced as that of ours, that is human language. Many of them, say for example, monkeys and parrots, also imitate human speech and signs, but it cannot develop the grammar that humans have in their minds. So the basic difference between the human communication and the non-human communication, as we have discussed in the previous class, our system is made up of limited signs, but these signs can be combined together, the words or the phrases or the sentences. We put those words, phrases, and sentences together, and we can create infinite number of sentences, infinite number of messages. So, for example, what I'm speaking today is something completely new and something that I haven't spoken before. But I know a language and I know the words and grammar of that language. So using that knowledge, I can create infinite number of messages, infinite number of sentences. But in case of non-humans, in case of animals, in case of birds, They do have their communicative system, they have their signals, but those signals are limited and they are fixed. That is, each signal is associated with one specific meaning. So if an animal is hungry, an animal will make a particular type of signal that would indicate hunger. But when we are hungry, we can express that thing that I am hungry in 5 different ways. Okay. So that creativity that we have, our language have, that is something very unique that no other species on the face of the earth has. Okay. So researchers in the field of linguistics believe that humans born with a kind of language organ, a capacity. This language organ has a capacity, or we believe that there is a capacity to learn and use human communicative system. So some linguists, they have also called it LED, that is language acquisition device. Right. So we have that capacity to acquire human language. And once we acquire that human language, we can use that language to communicate and understand what others are communicating with us. Here, the linguists are claiming that there is no specific system related with any one language. So, depending on in which region, in which society we are taking birth, we will pick up the language used in that particular society. So, if I'm born in Assam, I will pick up Assamese. If I'm born in Gujarat, I'll pick up Gujarati language spoken around me, and I will develop the grammar of that language in my mind while adapting or acquiring that language. So there is a set of rules for language. A set of rules for language is already there in the minds of the newborn children. Only requirement is this particular child needs to be exposed to a language. If I'm exposed to a human language, let's say Gujarati, I'll automatically start learning Gujarati language by listening to others and by interacting with others. If I take birth in, let's say, England, and people around me is using English language, so this particular language organ that we are hypothesizing will allow me to pick up English language. We start as a child, we start adopting and acquiring the rules and words of English language, and gradually we start interact with other people in that language. So depending on which language we are exposed to, we can acquire a specific human language. The norms or the rules are almost similar. Okay. So this is where Chomsky talks about the principles and parameters. Okay. That all all humans have certain principles of the language. They are all similar, but depending on the language that we are using, there are certain parameters. Say, for example, there is a sentence. In sentence, we first have a subject and a predicate. So there is someone who is doing the activity and there is an activity. In a very simple words, crudely placed. So that is something required to make a complete sentence. We normally say there is a subject, there is a verb, and there is an object. So when we combine verb and object together, it becomes a predicate. So each language, no matter which language we are talking about, has a sentence structure which will have a verb. At least at underlying level, at the level of understanding, there is a verb. But that verb, where does that verb will come in the sentence structure? That is parametric. Okay. That is, in different languages, the verb might in different places. Say, for example, in Gujarati, the verb comes at the end of the sentence. We have subject and then object and then the verb. But in English language, the verb comes in the center. There is subject, then there is verb, and then there is object. So verb has to be there, but where will it come? It will vary according to different languages and the grammar of that language. So having a verb in a sentence is principle, but where exactly that verb will occur in the sentence is a parameter. So moving forward, I think there's some disturbance. I'll put you on silent if possible. Oh, I can't put you on silent. Can you put your mobile or your device on silent?
Yes.
Okay. Is my voice clearer now? Is there any disturbance? Okay. So when we talk about these principles and parameters, the idea proposed by Noam Chomsky is that of universal grammar. Okay. Fine. This is an assumption. Okay. And linguists are working keeping this assumption in their mind that this is how we humans can acquire a language. So this assumption that all humans born with a capacity to learn and use the language, and all of us have grammatical rules in our mind, raises the question that in spite of same rules, why do we all speak different languages? Because linguists are assuming that there is a common universal grammar, there is a common what we call language organ, or there is a common language acquisition device. As long as we are humans, we all have it. This is the assumption. But then the question is, if we all have the same universal grammar, if we all have the same language organ, if we all have the same language acquisition device, then why do we all speak different languages? Of course, we can understand each other because we have a common language. But you can speak Assamese, which I may not understand. I may speak Gujarati, which you may not understand. And your mother tongue is Assamese. My mother tongue is Gujarati. So, at underlying level, we don't use the same language. Of course, we have second language that we have learned, English or Hindi, because of which we can communicate. So this is a valid question that if we are using the same language acquisition device and if we all have the same universal grammar, then why do we, let's say, have different languages? Like it's like questioning that we all have two legs, right? And we use these two legs to walk straight, right? And all the human beings in the world, all of us have two legs, right? And we primarily use these two legs to walk straight. Almost all human beings uh, across the world, they use these legs to walk. So this is something universal that the God has given us legs to walk. We haven't found any civilization so far that walks on. In that particular civilization, the human beings are walking on their hands and not on their legs. I haven't read or heard about any such civilization. We have two legs and we use these two legs to walk. Okay, so this is the kind of question we are asking about language as well. That if we all have the same universal grammar, like having two legs, why do we use different languages? That is, uh, in case of legs, we all walk similar. Then why in case of universal grammar, we all speak different languages? एक ब्रिटिशर है, वो भी दो पैरों पर चलता है. एक गुजराती है, वो भी दो पैरों पर चलता है. एक असमीज है वो भी दो पैरों पर चलते हैं। तो लेग्स के केस में वो सिमिलैरिटी हम मेंटेन कर रहे हैं। तो लैंग्वेज के केस में क्या हो रहा है? Fine. We all have similar grammar according to the linguist assumption. Then why a Britisher is using British, that is English language? Why a Gujarati is using Gujarati language? And why an Assamese is using Assamese language? Three different languages. So this is like understanding the difference in terms of walking and dancing. Right? That we have two legs and we are using these two legs in this particular order that allows us to walk. If we use these two legs in a different order, it will allow us to dance. Now, in different cultures, there are different dances. So, these different dances, which are culture specific, people can learn. Right? There was tap dances and break dance, and you have classical dance like kuchipudi, you have bihu. Fine. So, there we are not just thinking about uh, leg as a body organ, but we are using our legs and in fact entire body to express ourselves creatively. So basically when you say language, what we are primarily using, we are using sounds. All of us are using sounds to speak some language, either Gujarati or Hindi or English or Assamese or Arabic, whatever. We simply have to use the sounds. But how creatively we put those sounds together, that will make sense and that will differentiate one language from the other language. Right? So this is where this question, when we are raising with why do we all speak different languages, this is where theory comes with the idea of principles and parameters. Having sounds, having grammar is principle. But how that grammar, that is how particular sound or how particular grammatical rule is used in a particular language, is parameter. Okay. So the language we acquire is based on the fact that with which language we are exposed to. That is, we acquire a language only when and only the language which we are exposed to. Right? If I'm exposed to a language X, I will automatically acquire that language. If I'm exposed to a language Y, I will automatically acquire that language. Suppose I'm Gujarati, my wife is Gujarati, we are living in Gujarat, so our kids are picking up Gujarati language. But suppose me and my wife are living in, let's say, America, and most of the communications that we are doing is in English in front of our kids, and our kids are exposed to American English language, they will acquire American English better than Gujarati. Why? Because it's a matter of exposure. That is, my kids are exposed to the American English, and that's why they can pick up the American English. Right. So that is the primary requirement. But when we say exposure to a language, we don't simply mean that the kid will have to listen to a particular language. Okay. There has been certain experiments where the scientists have proved that only exposing to the language is not enough. Like there were kids who were exposed to a particular language through the medium of TV. Right? कि वो जो बच्चा है उसको पूरे दिन टीवी दिखाया और टीवी में ऐसी लैंग्वेज सुनाई जैसे इंग्लिश है जो उसकी खुद की लैंग्वेज नहीं है, घर में बोलते नहीं है, या जापानीज है जो उसकी खुद की लैंग्वेज नहीं है, घर में बोलते नहीं है, ऐसी लैंग्वेज सुनाई, पूरे दिन बच्चा वो लैंग्वेज सुन रहा है। लेकिन वो सुनने के बाद भी वो इंग्लिश या जापानीज लैंग्वेज एक्वायर नहीं कर पाता है. सो एक्सपोजर हियर मीन्स दैट द चाइल्ड should have the opportunity to interact in that language. So even if they are not what we call powerful language user, उनको थोड़ा थोड़ा एक दो वर्ड आता है, लेकिन वो एक दो वर्ड के यूज करके अगर वो कम्युनिकेट कर पाते हैं, किसी से बात कर पाते हैं, तो ऑटोमेटिकली वो ज्यादा सीखना शुरू करें वो लैंग्वेज में. और जैसे जैसे बोला जाता है, जैसे जैसे लोग उनसे बात करते हैं, वैसे वैसे ज्यादा सीखते रहते हैं. नहीं, जैसे छोटा बच्चा होता है, अगर वो हमसे बात करेगा, बहुत छोटा बच्चा है, जैसे सम 16-18 months, तो दे कैन नॉट यूज कंप्लीट सेंटेंसेस. वो एक आध वर्ड में बात करेंगे. जैसे हम लोग यहाँ पर गुजराती में नॉर्मली ऐसा होता है, मम, भू, ऐसे वर्ड बोलते हैं. मम का मतलब है खाना, फूड. भू का मतलब है पानी पीना. तो ऐसा एक वर्ड बोलेंगे, लेकिन उससे हमें पता चल जाएगा कि उसको खाना चाहिए या उसको पानी चाहिए. तो एक वर्ड से उनका कम्युनिकेशन हो जा रहा है. तो जैसे जैसे कम्युनिकेशन होता रहेगा, वैसे वैसे वो और सीखते रहेंगे. तो एक्सपोजर मीन्स the ability and a chance to communicate in a particular language. Right? If a child is exposed to a particular language, means if the child is able to communicate in a particular language, then child will automatically acquire that language. Interestingly, human language differ in terms of space. ये रीजन और वो रीजन, दो अलग अलग रीजन है, दोनों में लैंग्वेज अलग होगी. ह्यूमन लैंग्वेज डिफर ऑल्सो इन टर्म्स ऑफ टाइम. पास्ट में यही लैंग्वेज अलग तरीके से बोली जाती थी, लिखी जाती थी. अभी अलग तरीके से बोली जाती है, लिखी जाती है. और प्रोबेबली फ्यूचर में भी ये लैंग्वेज चेंज होगा. लैंग्वेज विल ऑल्सो डिफर इन टर्म्स ऑफ कास्ट. एक कास्ट के लोग अलग तरीके से बात करेंगे, दूसरे कास्ट के लोग अलग तरीके से बात करेंगे. क्लास, अपर अपर क्लास, लोअर क्लास, जो क्लास का डिस्टिंक्शन है, तो उसमें भी लैंग्वेज की वेराइटी चेंज है. इवन इफ यू आर यूजिंग द सेम लैंग्वेज. एक गुजरात में फॉर एग्जांपल हम क्लास की बात करते हैं, तो अपर क्लास भी गुजराती बोल रहा है, लोअर क्लास भी गुजराती, लेकिन दोनों की गुजराती में डिफरेंस होगा. रिलीजन के बेसिस पर आपके लैंग्वेज में चेंज आ जाएगा. जेंडर के बेसिस पर मेल विल स्पीक डिफरेंटली, फीमेल विल स्पीक डिफरेंटली. तो all these are considered variations or what we call language diversity. Language is never static. We basically believe in a standard language. Just a moment, I'm getting the call. दूसरी बार आ रही थी. हेलो, हेलो, हाँ जी,
हेलो.
हाँ जी, ये स्पीकिंग. पर्सन देश है. यस, स्टेप. ये नंबर. यस प्लीज. Which course? Wonderful. Mass media communication. So, where are you from right now? Like, you are based in Vadodara? Okay, wonderful. All right, all right. So, see, actually, admission process is already completed, and we have started the classes. But I think still the admission uh, process is still on. So you may check on the website of the university and ask the child to fill up the form. Okay, and if possible, you can come over with the child and her documents to the university, and we will guide you further. Right? So once you fill up the form, so then normally our process is the child has to fill up the form, and then we will have interview, and there is a process of this document verification. So if documents are verified and university finds no issues with the document, then we can proceed with this uh, interview. And once interview is passed, then university will inform about the admission. Okay. Mm. Yeah. Like BA, yeah, honors means now it is a 4-year course. This is the new rule by NUP. Now, most probably, you won't find anywhere in India where only 3-year bachelor's program is there, because NEP has changed the system. Yeah, so we have started this from last year onwards. So, and after 4 years, you can go for masters. So probably certain credits of her 4-year honors will be considered in master's program. Yeah. Basically, NEP has added one extra year for research. Mm. Yeah. So yeah, yeah, because NEP is applied across the board for all the universities in India. Yeah. So everywhere we will have similar system. Yeah. Yes. Sure. Yeah. No problem. Anytime. 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 Right. Okay. I'm so sorry. I also have to run a department, so I have to take care of everything. All right. So coming back to this idea of what we call variation, that there are so many varieties of language in terms of its uses. Okay. When we are taught a language in school, we are primarily taught what we call a kind of standardized language, a language variety which is recognized by the authorities, which is recognized by the government, right? But we don't normally speak, when we normally communicate with people around us, we don't normally communicate in that standard language. So there will be so many variations. Okay, fine. So that variation is not random. That variation, there can be uh, regions behind it, and those regions may be identified in terms of different place. Those differences can be identified probably in terms of different time, in terms of different caste, class, religion. Say, so for example, we can use English language. We are using English language right now. You understand English, I understand English, you can speak English, I can speak English. But the English that we are using is not very easily understood by a British person or an American person, right? Because our English is different in terms of pronunciation, in terms of words, and in terms of structure. Our English is different from their English. And that's why we identify different types of English. Like we talk about British English, we talk about American English, we talk about Canadian English, we talk about Australian English, we also talk about Indian English, we also talk about African English. There are variations. All these places we use English language, but in all these places there are certain changes of uses of English language. That the change is either in terms of, let's say, words, or they are in terms of the sounds. Say, for example, in English, specifically in British English, we use a word like thank you. You say, "Th- thank you." But when I use this word in Gujarati, like here in Gujarat, or most of the Indians use this word as thank you, is th. Your tongue will stop behind the teeth. Th, th. But when a British person speaks, he or she will speak th, th. Your tongue is between your teeth and there is constant air passing. So they basically use a fricative sound. Th, th. And we use a stop sound. Th. The sound that we have, th, they do not have. And the sound that they have, th, th, we don't have. And that's why when we speak this word, it is not very easily understood by a British person, because he or she is expecting something else. Or something like father. There are many people in India who speak per, while this per sound is not actually used in this position in English. They normally say fur. Lower lip will touch upper front teeth. Fur, fur, further, further. But we say per, both lips, further. So these kind of small differences will also affect normal communication. Okay. And that is why we have to introduce the idea of variation. Okay. So, like, there are many places we are taught that uh, a particular word like saru, there is a word sir, saru. The sound is sir. Saru means good in Gujarati. So now this is what we have been taught in the school, that you have to speak and write saru. Okay. This is standard word. Saru means good. But when we normally talk with the people, we say haru. We don't say saru. We say haru. Instead of sir, we use her. Haru. We normally ask કેવું છે? Standard answer is saru છે. But normal communication is haru છે. So that change that we are bringing, that change is what we call, there's a difference between standard language and there is a difference between normal communicative language. And there are many such words where you find this kind of difference. Okay. So that is where we will have to understand the idea of the variation, language variation, which means